Ready to explore the cutting edge of digital infrastructure? I'm Carrie Charles, your host of Let's Get Digital. Join me as we dive into the ideas, technologies, and leaders transforming the way we connect. From wireless telecom to fiber networks, data centers, and beyond. Sponsored by Broadstaff in partnership with RCR Wireless News. Now, let's dive in and let's get digital.
Welcome to Let's Get Digital. I'm Carrie Charles, your host, and I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. We have a great episode for you today. Our guest is Christopher Lightfoot. He is the Vice President of Future Infrastructure. Chris, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time, so I'm glad we're able to sync up.
Yes, me too. So Chris, I've heard a lot about you, and I know that you have an incredible story, and I would love for you to share it, a little bit about, your history, how you got to future infrastructure, and also I know that you have something personal that really changed the way that you lead.
Yes, thank you for the great question here. So I've had a long journey in telecom. I started many moons ago as a cell site technician working for a version of AT&T called Singular Wireless. And I worked myself up into becoming a transport planner, equipment engineer, and worked my way down to AT&T once all the mergers finished up. But on that journey, I've had several logos. So I left AT&T, ended up going to Mastec for some time. And then I left there, ended up going to Ericsson. Ericsson is where I had my career-changing event. Basically, that's when I was diagnosed with cancer. And from a leadership perspective, what that taught me is that you can't go through struggles alone. And I would give a brief story about that. So when I first had my tumor diagnosed, I had a surgeon, very smart individual, and he told me that he could take care of it himself. So I went in, had surgery, came out. He said everything was good. I was assuming things were on demand. Less than 6 months later, my tumor came back in earnest. Here's what's interesting that happened. When that occurred, all of a sudden, I had a team around me. It wasn't just a surgeon. It was also a radiologist and an oncologist that was there to help me through my treatment. And what that taught me was, as smart as you may think you are alone and how you can do it all by yourself, sometimes you do need others to help get you through certain situations. And what that learned me was the value of teamwork and the value of collaboration and the value of kind of slowing things down and asking for advice, because what I noticed, there was a broad tumor board that had different perspectives on how to treat me. And I think oftentimes it's just like work, when you've done things one way for so long and you think you have all the answers, oftentimes getting advice from others is a big step and oftentimes uncomfortable. But what I've learned is that most times the best solutions are made through collaboration, not by one person making all the decisions and one person doing everything themselves. So that's what changed me in my journey. And of course, I've taken that, brought it to future as I left Google Fiber, which was my last big stint. And I also had a small stint in private equity that got me here today. So I'm very excited to be here at Future, very excited to be here with Promorse, which is owns Future. And I think there's a lot of things we can discuss that I think that the audience will sincerely like and enjoy.
You know what, Chris? I love that you had all of these lessons from your cancer journey. And I mean, it's amazing how you went through this and you just said, look, I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to also help others, which you do, right?
I do, yeah. So I'm a patient advocate at Emory University here in Atlanta. And basically that role is to be an advocate for the cancer patients that go through treatment. But oftentimes when you're in the midst of the journey with cancer, you don't think about how things can be better. You're kind of going through it yourself and want to make sure you survive. But once I got out of there, I wanted to make sure that as other folks went through cancer, they asked the right questions, knew what to ask, knew that they were empowered to ask the questions. Oftentimes when people get especially significant medical attention, they tend to lean on the doctors to tell them everything. Oftentimes you need to ask questions, you need to probe. And I think that's one of the things I brought to the patient advocacy group is, granted, the doctors are the experts, but ultimately we're the patients. So we have a role to play in understanding what's going to be done to us, what's the impact, how can we do things differently? Is that the best solution? Is that the only solution? Even challenging the doctors. I know that's uncomfortable from time to time, even for them. But oftentimes when you do that challenge, it works out for the best solution. Similar at work. Sometimes when the SME knows it all and thinks they've done it before, 30 times, 10 years, 20 years, especially as you get more senior in your role, sometimes the person that has the least experience can offer a different insight that you didn't think about or you had a blind spot to. And I think that's kind of what I took from my cancer treatment, and that's what I bring to my team. I'm a big advocate of, speak up, express a different opinion, even if it's a counter opinion, because you never know. You may have an insight that other people just might not have thought of because you're new and you're looking at it through a different lens. And also, all values are important and all perspectives are important. So hearing it and working your way through it often leads to the best solution. So I think that's one thing I really, on the hindsight being 2020, I really got out of my cancer treatment. Of course, me surviving, being here, that's a plus. But in spite of that, also just being able to take those lessons and incorporate it in the business world is an awesome thing as well.
You're an inspiration, Chris. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Sure.
So talk about Future. Who is Future Infrastructure?
Yeah, Future is a Primoris owned company, and it was a collection of several acquisitions made through a course of many years. And we are a telecommunications construction solution provider. So our main purpose is to deploy communication networks, wireline, wireless. We're also trying to enter to the data center space in more earnest. And that's what Future is. We have a pretty broad portfolio of services we offer. And our geography is basically the Southeast, Texas, the lower half of the US. But we have partners and engineering partners as well throughout the country. So that's what Future is in a nutshell. We are a new company. We're going through some growing pains, as you can imagine. As you go through acquisition, we're going through process standardization, getting things stood up, trying to become much more financially savvy as well in terms of how we look at our portfolio of activities. But basically, that's what Future is in a nutshell. We're here to do telecom, and we're here to build the best and most practical telecommunications network possible.
So a lot of companies do talk about being end to end, but you've said that you can handle most everything in a data center build. So what does that true turnkey actually look like in practice?
Yeah, so one thing with Primoris / Future is interesting is that we have the power space, which is critical to most all data center builds. We have the fiber deployment experience and expertise. And ultimately, I think what has happened with us is that we can actually put those together in the suite of services for a lot of the either hyperscalers or enterprise data center customers and clients out there that I think is often overlooked. And one of the things that I think what we would do is basically package all those suite of services and say, okay, based on what the customer needs and what the customer wants and their milestones, how can we fit our different skill sets across the different verticals into one holistic solution? And I think that's what we're attempting and we're going to do from a Primoris perspective in order to really enter the data center space in earnest.
So you're balancing both fiber expansion and data center growth. How do these two worlds come together strategically for Future Infrastructure?
So the irony is oftentimes as we're getting our engagements from clients, everything is very siloed, even in that world. We'll find that we're building a hyperscale long haul fiber transport network for them. And then we also find that we're going to a data center location and we're actually terminating in the meet me room of a given data center. And so what ends up happening, separate different groups end up having piece parts of a given build. And I think that oftentimes strategically, we end up talking to each other internally and we find out, hey, this is the same customer, maybe different ways of coming into Future that is all the same build. So one of the things that we're trying to balance is trying to figure out how can we holistically put the puzzle together so that as customers are coming to us and saying, hey, we have a long haul build we want you to do, we have something to a data center when a meet me room we want you to build, we end up trying to figure out, hey, well, how can we not do it all together? Have a one turnkey solution for you that we can go from wherever we want us to start all the way to the data center strategically. And that's better for us because it's more cost effective, it's more efficient for us as well, and it also gives us a better control over schedule sometimes as well. So I think that's what we're trying to do strategically to position ourselves as the one-stop shop for data center expansion going forward.
So you've also talked about breaking down internal silos to unlock growth. Why is that such a challenge in infrastructure companies, and how are you tackling it?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is oftentimes we get stuck in our verticals. So we have a power division that gets very focused on power. We have a telecom division that very focused on telecom. And we have a gas division that focuses on gas. And that's basically where we are. And oftentimes we don't step up and look across the cubicle and say, hey, we have a customer here that's doing a data center build. We put in a power team. Do you think you have an opportunity to work with us and do the fiber deployment or even having those conversations? So the one thing we're trying to do is one, break the barriers internally as they are doing power to some of these data center locations is an opportunity to talk to either the hyperscaler or the developer or whomever's in charge and say, hey, how can we partner together on the fiber deployment? Because we have a fiber division here that can do that. So one of the things is just communication, definitely. Collaboration, which is oftentimes easier said than done, but we want to collaborate with our internal partners to say, we're here for you. And also taking a step back and seeing how we can leverage those opportunities with each other so we don't become kind of siloed. So I think that's been the biggest struggles. Oftentimes, we just don't stand up and look across the aisle and say, hey, we have a division over here that can do the exact same thing that you're going to outsource to a competitor or someone else. And I think that's how we're trying to challenge it ourselves. So internally, we've been having a series of meetings, engagements, discussions with our internal partners and trying to make sure to let them know that, hey, we're here. Let's figure out how we can collaborate together. Let's meet our own customers. Let's talk to different builds as there are different processes of the RFP and say, hey, here what we can do to help you grow and scale and also do the telecom piece at the same time. So a lot of it is just changing the culture and the mindset and the awareness. Because us being new, we're a very new part of Primoris. So I think a lot of that is just being and doing the branding, even internally, to say, hey, we are here. We can do telecom. We can do the fiber builds. Let's have a discussion and see if we can bring value to engagements you currently have in the pipeline.
So you've built a culture around exceeding contract expectations when we talked earlier, not just meeting them, but going way over and above. How do you operationalize that across large, complex projects?
Yeah, so one of the things I've been telling my team locally for sure is, when we sign a contract, when the client lays out his or her SLAs and expectations, to me, that's just the benchmark, that's the baseline. So oftentimes, as we're doing a large scale project, as we're doing these engagements, and the customer says, hey, we want something done in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever the timeframes are, I sit there and challenge my team and say, hey, what can we do to beat that? Are there things that we can get ahead of to kind of add value to the customer? Because oftentimes our customer leaning on us with our expertise to expedite deployment, to do things with good quality. And that's been my biggest challenge to my team is to see, even though the customer may say, I want it in X amount of time, what can we do to do it better? And so from how we operationalize that is we look at the metrics and see if we can shave a percentage point here, a percentage point there, and see what we can do to pull things in. Oftentimes the customers are surprised that we're trying to do that. And I think that's the biggest value add to them is that we're their partner. So we're there to help them be successful. And sometimes the sooner speed matters and trying to tell the team that if we can do that for our customers, they understand we bring value, they bring expertise. And also at the same time, we help them meet their deliverables even earlier. So to me, that's what we've been trying to do to operationalize that. So we look at the metrics that they give to us, see how we can shave a few points here and there, and make sure that we still do the work in a timely fashion with good quality and turn something over that they can use as soon as possible to meet their customer demands on their side. So that's how we operationalize it. So we have a tracker that we actually say, and we have operational reviews with our customers once a quarter to kind of go over, here's what the contract says, here's the projects we have, here's how we beat that, or maybe not. But more oftentimes, we actually want to be fully transparent with them to see what we can do. And then we're very self-reflective. Oftentimes, if there is a delay, if there's an impact, what went wrong so we can take those lessons learned, put them going forward so we don't end up making the same mistakes over and over and over. Oftentimes, one of the biggest issues with project management is that we don't take the lessons learned and sincerely apply them. We learn the lessons, we document the lessons, but then we don't take those lessons and pull them forward. So that's one of the things we're doing very doggedly within future to make sure we learn as we progress.
So you mentioned metrics. What are those key indicators that really move the needle forward? Like, let's get in granular a little bit.
Sure. So one of the things that we look at is time on task. If there's a certain level of projects that requires certain activities, how long does it take for us to get those activities completed? And can we push those along a little bit faster? Still do good quality, but actually accelerate the time frame. Some of the things we have mean time to repair and some of our own R&M contracts to see if we can exceed what the customer wants us to do. Meaning, can we get to a location quicker? Can we bring the site up faster? Can we respond to their email questions better? One of the key things is our response time to them. I told my team that whenever we get a request from a customer, it is our intention to turn that around to them as quickly as possible. So there's a certain SLA response time to be managed to say, hey, if they reached out to us and they expect a response contractually within an hour, can we do it within 30 minutes? Can we do it within 15 minutes? What can we do to actually exceed what they're expecting to make us a differentiator and a true partner for them? And then one of the bigger pieces from a lifecycle perspective is the quality side. One, to make sure it's good to go fast, it's good to deliver early, but it's one to make sure we deliver it on time and we deliver it with good quality. And also to make sure from a metrics perspective, internally, there's limited to no go backs. We want to make sure there's very little fallout from a quality perspective, having to go back, redo some work because either we didn't adhere to standards or something that's kind of fell through the cracks due to our desire to be fast. So those are the things that we look at to make sure that we are giving them what they need, tracking our performance, tracking how we can beat their expectations rather, and improve over time. And that's what we do, and that's how we track those. Those are the key metrics that we look at day in and day out for our customers. And it varies customer to customer, but I think we make sure to try to position it and make sure we frame it for each customer's specific needs so they know that we give them the white glove service that they expect.
So from where you're sitting right now, what is changing that people outside the day-to-day execution of these projects are not fully seeing yet?
Yes, so I think from my perspective, the biggest thing that I'm seeing day to day that's changing is the speed in which customers are asking us to move. I think oftentimes we've gotten to a place in which we have, forecasts and we kind of plan the work and we have a long lead time of, hey, here's where the projects are kind of coming. What I'm seeing now is a lot less of that. Things are much more reactive, in which a project will come. You have 30 days to get it done, 60 days to get it done. Even the customer may not even know it's coming down the pipeline. That has been one of the bigger challenges for us, is really trying to understand how we can be nimble enough to respond to their needs, but also at the same time be aware enough not to have a lot of internal costs we have to kind of soak up while we're kind of waiting for things to occur. That's one of our major challenges we have right now. But we do understand speed matters, and oftentimes they don't even know what they're doing, not from a negative perspective, but they're responding to their clients' needs as well. So that compression of notification of when we want something done has been one of the biggest challenges that I think people don't see, because once you get a project started, you kind of go. But oftentimes there's very little foresight and view into terms of what the customer wants and when. So our need to being reactive has been not troubling, but very aggressive in just trying to meet our customers' needs. And that's been the one challenge we've been facing, is being able to react quickly, nimbly, transparent to the customer, but basically want to make sure that we can plan for the unknown has really been the biggest piece, at least in my world so far. And I think people don't see that because they see the trucks out there, they see the activity out there, but what they don't see before we got to that point, there was a lot of uncertainty that we just have to kind of work through day in and day out.
Yes. So let's talk about the workforce a bit, because skilled labor, skilled technicians, everyone in the fiber, broadband, data center space is just high demand right now, electricians. So how are you attracting talent at Future and also keeping them? Do you have specific strategies that you're using? What's working for you?
So the good news is Future, and especially some of the legacy acquisitions, a lot of our current workforce has a lot of loyalty to the brand, to where they came from, how they came into the organization. So the good news is we've tried to emphasize and lean in on that as well. Attracting talent, we basically want to make sure our technicians know that there's a career path for them. So even though they may come in as a technician, if they want to grow and develop, we want to make sure that we offer them that view into be here 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, where they can go. That way they don't feel like they're only a technician forever. There's a career path for them. That's really important. Oftentimes, these technicians, they come in, and we want to also give them a diverse project portfolio. Instead of just doing one type of job, splicing in the OSP world, here's the data center opportunities, all the ISP opportunities. Can we give them a broad breadth of experiences to make day-to-day more exciting? And that's the important thing, is oftentimes having fun at work. And one thing for me, we try to make work fun. Work is work. You have to be at work and you have to get things done, but also having an environment that allows collaboration, allows good teamwork, a good team environment. And that gets out. You'd be amazed how when people understand you have a team, a professional, folks who have each other's back, love what they do, love each other, work together well with each other, how that brings people in. And that's what we're trying to do with our world, is make sure when they come here, it's not just, here's a task, here's your work package for the day, get it done. There is a little bit of that, but we also want to make sure they understand that there's a career path for you here. We definitely emphasize safety. So we really lean into that safety culture within Primoris and Future, meaning how you arrive at work, we expect you to leave work the same way. And we want to make sure that everybody understands that from a safety perspective, we are leaning into that. We would never ask you to do anything that would be unsafe. And I know in this industry, oftentimes safety is important and always will be important, but sometimes people conflate that with necessarily need to get things done. And we don't do that here. We're basically safety first. Let's get things done. And let's make sure we do it in a way that we plan our work, we understand what we're doing, and we do it safely. And of course, in the competitive market, that's very rare for people. They don't see that. And one of the things that I know my current team likes is that we're putting a lot more structure in place. Oftentimes, they go to other companies, everything is very ad hoc, very reactive. They never know what they're going to do day in and day out. Sometimes that's fun for a small amount of time. But when you do that day in and day out for 6, 7, 8 years, it can burn people out. So we try to make sure there's structure in their work. They have time to be with the families. We have fun as we do the work. And we collaborate to make sure there's an inviting atmosphere so they can learn and grow. And that's what we try to sell to our new technicians and new electricians as they come into the organization. Here's the home for you, and this is what we expect. And we try to be very direct in terms of our expectations, so nothing's very nebulous. Here's what we expect you to do. Here's what we need to accomplish. But along the way, here's how we're going to have fun doing it so that when people leave, it's a fun place to work. Because oftentimes, people land in on compensation. Compensation is one of the things that are very tricky because there's always somebody who's willing to pay more. I mean, there's always that piece. So you also have to build a culture within your company that, in spite of that, you want to have the compensation and have a place where people want to come to work. And that's what we're trying to build here at Future.
You're so right about being able to really enjoy work or have fun at work. I just think that's so, so important because we spend so much time at work. Right. Mm-hmm. And so having this place where it's not, it is intense and there's, we've got all these requirements and safety and everything's at stake. But at the same time, you're enjoying it and there's meaning behind it and you can see it. And then there's fun and you've got relationships. I mean, it's just the whole package, right?
Right. So letting the individuals know, what's the goal? Sometimes even a technician, they'll do work day in and day out, but sometimes they don't know the bigger purpose. So one of the things that we've been very diligent at doing is saying, hey, here's the goal. Here's the why we're doing what we're doing. And then oftentimes you'll be amazed that once they understand here's the purpose, here's the bigger picture, it adds more value in what they do day to day. It's not just a task. It's a task with a larger purpose. So giving the people the purpose and the why behind why they do what they do, beyond just the getting the project done and making the client happy, they also understand from a business standpoint, here's how I'm adding value to the overall picture. So giving them that view as well is a big piece. And it's amazing once they understand the why of why we're doing what we're doing, how that will even change in terms of how they work. It will change how they interact with the customers. It will even change their approach to it so they take it more seriously. And I think that is one of the things that we've been really pushing here locally is understanding this is what we need to do. Here's why we're doing it. Have fun along the way. And let's enjoy each other. But to your other point, we're around each other 8, 10, especially on the technician level, you may be around your team 12 hours a day. So one, to make sure that they want to enjoy being around each other 12 hours a day, because sometimes it takes that from time to time to get a project done. And I think the collaboration, the education, and having them understand the vision, it was really important, not only for the technician, but for all the other individuals as well within Future. But from a technician level, that shows that there's a meaning or there's a method to the madness, not just madness that they can buy into. And once you get technicians to buy into, it's even easier to attract talent because who they're telling, normally techs know other techs. They tell their friends, they tell their peers, they tell the people they know in the industry. So when the opportunity comes up, it brings in. So then basically we're actually feeding the funnel of good people who want to come. And it's more of a pull versus a push. And they're wanting to come to the organization. And most people, when you want to land somewhere and you get there, it's amazing that how long they want to stay and how long they want to work hard for you to meet the goals that you lay out for them.
Chris, there's so much wisdom in what you just said. So I think we all need to just hit rewind and take some notes. Let's talk about vision. You mentioned vision. Describe the future of Future infrastructure. Where are you going?
No pun intended. So what we want to become, or what we're planning out to become, is the best telecommunications construction company in the country. We basically want to be the go-to vendor for all the clients in this space, whether it's data center, whether it's wireless, wireline providers. We want to be when you think of construction, you think of Future. And also we pride ourselves in being the most structured, the most forthright, the most easy to work with company that we can. And we have our challenges as all companies, But basically, we want to make sure that when you think of doing something different, just come to us and we can deliver for you. So we're really big on quality. We're really big on safety. We're really big on timeliness of delivering and meeting or exceeding our customers' expectations. So future, we basically want to win both the fiber and the data center space markets. We want to have the right strategic partnerships, whether they're with other construction entities, other GCs, data center directly, whatever the case may be. We're looking to grow and expand and be the solution provider for them. And also we are over time, we become the experts in this space, in which when people think of doing a build and trying to figure out who's the best person to partner with, they think of us, similar to the way Promorce is thought of that way in the gas and power space today. We want to be that for telecom. And I think we're well on our way of getting there. As with all these acquisitions over time, it's a bit bumpy to kind of get there, as with all these acquisitions go. But I think we're very well suited and well positioned to add value across this domain, across the US. So I'm here. Please reach out. I think we are definitely very well positioned to meet our customers' needs. We have a great parent company that's willing to invest in us. And I think the sky's the limit for where we're trying to go and achieve.
One last question on the personal side, because you've been through incredible adversity, Chris, and I think there's so many times in this industry, especially now, the industry is on fire. Like you said, everybody's speeding up. Mm-hmm. And that means each human being is speeding up. The stakes are higher. There's more to do. The expectations are higher. And, sometimes we do need the lessons that even you shared earlier about, actually, let me ask you, what gets you to jump out of bed every day? And, what is your personal purpose? And what helps you stay grounded when things are getting so busy all around you?
So what gets me out of bed in the morning is two things. One, I like working with individuals, working with people, and I like being able to understand what their needs are. But a bigger piece is once you kind of go through the journey I went through, it kind of gives you a different perspective. It kind of allows you to have a bit of patience and pause, meaning all projects are important. We need to get things done timely, but it allows you that maybe every fire drill isn't necessarily a fire drill. Maybe you have to kind of plan a bit better. You kind of have to think through it. So being able to communicate and show individuals that, hey, let's take a breath, whatever issues we need to work through, let's work through the issues and let's admire problems. So one of the things I really figured out early doing cancer is people like to admire the adversity versus figuring out a solution to get through it. So they admire the problem and they stare at it and they focus on the problem. And what I try to get people to understand is, well, let's not focus on the problem. Let's focus on how we're going to fix the problem. And I think that that's oftentimes what I love to share with the team, because it helps people not to be stuck looking at something that they think they can't fix versus saying, well, what can we do? And one of the things I always tell my team is when you see a problem versus the gut instinct of being, well, I can't do. And I've told my team many times is if you focus on what you can't do, you'll never realize what you can do. That is the piece I try to tell my team is let's not focus on what you can't. I said, they will often bring up, well, Chris, we have this issue, we have that issue, we have this rule, we have this company mandate, this company policy. I said, to me, those are like rules of the game. Certain boundaries you have to work within. That's okay. Everything has a boundary. But it doesn't necessarily mean we can't come up with a plan to fix whatever issue we have by work within the rules. So I try to get people to kind of think differently and think beyond just the problem in front of the face. And how can we get beyond it and move forward? So that's what gets me out of bed every day. I love to see the team come to me with, hey, here's a problem, but here's a solution. I'm like, oh, great. That is awesome. And that is the one thing I love about, especially the younger individuals coming in, everything is really new, getting them to see that, yes, you are empowered. Yes, you can make a decision. Yes, you can figure things out. And you don't need to always lean on the next level to do something. So getting them to develop that does two things. One, it develops the next generation of managers and leaders within the company. Two, it makes my job a lot easier in terms of what needs to be done. And also, to be quite candid, those are the individuals that more often than not are in front of the customers every day. So we have a team that thinks like that in front of the customer. The customer knows they have a valued partner that can help them be successful. So my job to get up is helping make everyone else better. I kind of really believe on servant leadership. I tell my team, I work for them. I'm here to remove roadblocks and make you successful. And I think that is the one thing that gets me out of bed every single morning is make sure that happens. And one other thing gets me out of bed in the morning, more on the personal side. So Cancer is a very unique, interesting disease, if you will. So I get up and go work out because I want to make sure I'm fully healthy just in case it decides to come back. So that's another thing that gets me out of bed in the morning, just saying, hey, I want to make sure I'm here to fight this thing. In case it comes back, I'm healthy as I can be. So between the health side, give me inspiration, helping others learn what they can do and see their growth and see their matriculation as well is important. But then seeing that package into the broader future, see how where we are today and where we can be 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years from now. So that's what gets me on. I'm excited what the future holds, and that's what gets me motivated every day.
Priceless leadership lessons here, Chris. And every time I talk to you, I just leave the conversation feeling happy to be alive and inspired. So I really appreciate you coming on the show. This has just been wonderful. Thank you.
Hey, no, thank you for having me. I love the conversation. Let's do it again. And like I said, I'm here for you. So anyone that's out there listening, come to future, we're ready to work.
Let's do it. Talk soon, Chris. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Let's Get Digital. This podcast is powered by Broadstaff, a national staffing firm specializing in digital infrastructure talent. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and join me next time as we explore more stories at the intersection of technology, talent, and transformation. Until then, let's get digital.